Hey everyone, John here! And 12 Nintendo Switch games have been given a free Nintendo Switch 2 patch. This includes things like bumping the resolution, changing the frame rate cap from 30 to 60, giving brand new Switch 2 features, quality of life stuff, and far, far more. There's very little to divide these from the actual paid Switch 2 editions, and so, let's take a look at every single one of these. However, we're not going to be comparing Clubhouse games and Brain Academy because these did not have technical enhancements. These were just about game share. So while that's cool, that's not really the point of a visual comparison. And let's begin with The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. This one's been given a pretty radical resolution boost. If we zoom all the way in, you can see on Switch 1, Link's got a lot of aliasing surrounding him, whereas on Switch 2, it's pretty much all cleared up. Even the HUD's been re-rendered and redrawn for higher resolutions. There's a lot of work put into the presentation here. But of course, the big part of Link's Awakening is this game runs at 60 FPS, but every now and then the game needs to stream in more data, and it goes down to 30 FPS just for a moment. This could be a quick blip, or it could be a couple of seconds. This has been completely alleviated on Switch 2. This is constantly 60 FPS all the time at a much higher resolution, and the load times are a lot faster as well. And a game that's similar but far more drastic is The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. This game has the same resolution enhancements, but in the Switch game, Echoes of Wisdom only really hits 60 when it's indoors, or if Zelda is completely static. As soon as she starts moving, the game goes to 30 FPS. Whereas on Switch 2, it is 60 FPS all the time. I caught one point where there was a small little flutter where it goes like 56 frames per second, but it's literally for a second. It doesn't matter. Echoes of Wisdom was also given a brand new favorite option for your echoes, and this feels like it should have been there the whole time. It's just a completely different part of the menu. You can even sort them by your most used and most powerful as well. It's so convenient, and I wish it was always here. Now, Captain Toad already ran at 60 FPS, so not much really needed to be fixed, but the resolution is much higher. The main reason this was patched was to give it game share, which means that Captain Toad now has online play, and that's crazy. I love that. And very similar to Captain Toad is 3D World. This is also a resolution boost, it was already 60 FPS, also has game share. Cool, cool, cool. But Bowser's Fury is the real focus. This not only ran quite poorly on Switch 1, but it also didn't exactly look good, very low resolution. And if we zoom in all the way, you can see it is a substantial difference in resolution. And in terms of frame rate, Switch 2 is hitting 60 FPS all the time, even in the Bowser sections, whereas Switch 1 would just drop in general gameplay. It doesn't really matter what's going on. And it is very much worth noting that Bowser's Fury ran at 30 FPS in handheld mode, and that is no longer the case anymore. It was a very strange situation. I can't think of any other game that changed its frame cap, depending on whether it was undocked or docked, but Bowser's Fury did. And now, undocked, full 60 FPS, 1080p. Mwah! Beautiful. Mario Odyssey's also been patched, and this was mostly advertised as game share, but the technical enhancements are so vast. Yes, you can play online with Cappy now, but that's not really the point. The resolution is so much higher. And in New Donk City, the humans now move at full rate, no matter how far away you are from the camera. There is still some weird pop-in with them, they just kind of load in sometimes, and that's how the game is made. But the fact that there's so many more humans moving at full rate just makes this city feel so much more alive, and it's jarring after playing this game for like 8 years. And New Super Mario Bros. U is... New Super Mario Bros. U. This wasn't even given game share. I'm not really sure why this is here. It is higher resolution. It's kind of hard to tell in this game, though. The main improvement just kind of comes from playing this on a Switch 2, and that is the loading times. This game had really poor loading times on Switch 1, even worse than Wii U somehow. On Switch 2, it now takes 2.9 seconds to load a level, whereas Switch 1 was 6.9. And that may not sound bad, but every time you die, you get kicked back to the world map. We've got to load the map, get back into the level, load the level. And on Switch 2, this takes 17 seconds, which is still rather long, but on Switch 1 it's 25 seconds, which is substantially longer. Platformers should not kick you back to the world map, it's so much wasted time. And then we have ARMS. This update makes the game 60 FPS all the time, Whereas on Switch 1, it wasn't 60 in the character selection, and it isn't 60 before a match begins, and it's not 60 in 4-player mode, and I guess that's the big thing. It doesn't matter how many players are playing ARMS, it is always 60 FPS. And we're going to zoom in really closely to that small little window in the corner. And as you can see, it is also much higher resolution. And keep into account we are very zoomed in right now. And Switch 2 is holding up really, really well. And Game Builder Garage, surprisingly, has been given a really large facelift. This game looks absolutely gorgeous on Switch 2 now. And some quite ambitious levels didn't exactly run the best on Switch 1. And this level right here, which kind of recreates Mario Odyssey, now runs at 60 FPS constantly. You can also now use the Joy-Con mouse to make levels and just browse levels in Game Builder Garage, which is really cool. In the Switch version, you could use a USB mouse, but that's kind of out of the way, whereas this is just part of the system, and that's rad. And that brings us to the big boy, Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. The resolution has been drastically increased, and as has the Pokémon count. You're going to see far more Pokémon just roaming around in the wild. And of course, the game now runs at 60 FPS, whereas the Switch version was not only capped to 30, but barely ever hit 30. In some cases, it would go as low as 20, or even lower than 20 quite consistently. So this feels like a brand new game. It's so weird seeing Pokémon just run at full 60 FPS, without the Pokémon running at low frame rates in the distance, and even the windmills run at full rate. Although I did find one windmill that didn't move at all until I was close enough, but as soon as I was close enough, full rate, none of that like 2 frames per second nonsense. Anyway, those are the 10 games given a free performance update on Switch 2. Honestly, there is so much to do with Switch 1 games that you could never touch a Switch 2 game for years, and you could still be entertained by this console. Whether it's just the standard games hitting their frame rate caps now, or these patch games getting much higher resolution and new features, there's so much. Anyway, let me know what you think, what game has given the most drastic bump in your opinion, and I will catch you next time. Bye everyone.
Woohoo!